Hello, my educator family. Welcome to Joyous June, right here with Strategic Educational Consultancy Services, where the only mission is to empower you, our educators. Now, in the month of May, I'd ask for persons to help us to put together content for our channel. And of course, there has been quite a spillover with the content that was required. And so we'll be looking at those content areas for the month of June. And right up off the bat, of course, we have persons asking about how do we treat boys and girls? Do they learn the same? Do they learn differently? What approach should we take? And so I believe that this is a period in which we can address these, because we see now more than ever after COVID how COVID would have impacted our students. And can you imagine the boys who were already at a slight disadvantage based on this course that we're going to have, how this would have severely impacted them? And so we want to look at it as educators. How do we treat boys? How do we treat girls? And I know that there has been much talk surrounding this topic for quite a while. I've seen the Jamaica Teaching Council doing quite a few forums that specifically look at this issue. How do we treat boys? How do we treat girls? And so educators, I believe that when we talk about boys and girls in the classroom, we really need to go to the gender specifics, because that is where it will help us to understand clearly what is required of us as educators in the classroom as we interact with this with gender. And as we look at the issues surrounding gender education. Now, clearly, girls tend to mature faster than boys. For the girls at age 12, they have already decided in their minds what is it that they would want to become. And the boys at that stage, they're just trying to figure out what exactly they are going to be doing, or they are trying to figure out what should I do, what are the subjects that I like. They're at a slight disadvantage as it relates to their maturity within the teaching learning environment. Also, as it relates to language development, girls are always going to outnumber boys, because by age 10 to 12, don't quote me on this, I don't remember the specific data, but by age 10 to 12, girls know far more. They have far more vocabulary words. They have far more words in their vocabulary more than boys. And sadly, the amount of the number that they have, boys don't get to that number until they're like 20, 21, 22. And so as a result of that, we realize that boys are slightly disadvantaged where that is concerned. Additionally, for females, they are a little bit more abstract. They're abstract learners. Boys are concrete. They need to see what they are doing. They need to feel. They need to touch. The girls are more upbeat regardless of what the situation is. They are going to be pushing to learn because that's just naturally them. The boys, they have to be extrinsically motivated. So the females are intrinsically motivated, the boys are extrinsically motivated. They have to see the benefit of what they are learning in order to process what is it that you are doing in the classroom with them. And if you are unable to capture their attention in that first session or first 15-20 minutes, that's it. You will never get their attention again. And so I believe that we have to put that out there. The girls are easier to teach than the boys. But while we realize that the girls are advancing ahead of the boys, one thing is for sure though, that because of logical reason and the side of the brain that they use, you will realize that they're more logical. So they tend to excel at math and science. They tend to understand those concepts because it takes logic reasoning to assist them. So they will be advanced in those areas than the girls, right? So that is a plus for the boys where that is concerned. Please permit me that while I'm speaking to you, I'm also looking at some notes that I would have had here. Another thing is that boys show more areas in brain dedicated to spatial mechanical strengths, as I just pointed out with math and science, whereas for girls, they demonstrate focus on verbal emotive processing. Girls are generally hardwired to be less impulsive, enabling them to sit still, focus, read, and write at an earlier age than boys. Boys are not so, boys are impulsive, and so they will just get up and walk around and they become easily distracted as opposed to the girls. For boys, their brain need more rest time during a day of learning. They cannot keep going like energizer body. They have to rest, they have to refocus. Ever so often you have to take a break when you're teaching them for them to refocus, while the female will sit and go through the motion, write the notes, participate and do all of that, even if they are not processing it at the time, but they are more eager and they are more willing and they are more able to do that. For the boys, they will just zone you out. So the girls will sit there, they're bored, but you're not going to see it, you're not going to know. But the boys, you can tell because they start to fidget, they start to talk, they start to move around. All right. Boys are single focused. So, and you know, as educators, just look back at it within your home. For those who live with a spouse, or for those who have boys and girls, or boy and a girl, you'll realize that the female can manage many tasks at one time. The male cannot do so. They have to focus on completing a particular task before they can move on to the next. All right, so that is one in which, you know, the boys are focused on single task, while the girls, they will multitask a lot. Now, what does this say now? And I think this is where the educator would want me to zone in the strategies and the techniques, the structures that we can put in place when we engage boys. And remember, this is not an exclusive video. This is just touching the tip of the iceberg. I'm just adding my voice to the topic that is being swirling around. I'm just adding my knowledge to what I know and to what we experience within the classroom. There are many ways, there are many research studies that are out there as to how we can tackle the approach to teaching boys. So this is just general information that can guide you as you plan your lessons, as you close out the school year, and even as you look forward to the new school year. It's in a simple version, all right? Now, what we need to focus on, as I said earlier, is specifically how do we teach them? What do we do? So boys are energized and motivated by movement. What does that mean? As the teacher within the classroom, the educator, the master of your content area, you cannot just go to the boys and you're just standing there talking. You have to be moving. The hand movement, the body movement, that is what they feed from. They want to see your hand moving and explaining. They want to see you moving around the classroom and talking to this one and touching that one and sharing that information. They, as I said earlier, they are concrete learners. So whatever you are teaching them, they need to see it. They must be able also to make the connection to the future. How will this particular topic help me when I move to the next grade or to the next term or when I'm doing my exams? So that is straight up. You cannot be boring when you're engaging boys. So you have to take on a mixed approach when you're dealing with the boys. How do you treat them? All right, so you have to ensure that you are moving around. You have to use the teaching styles that will encourage experiential and kinesthetic learning. So you have to teach them based on their experience. Let them make that link with what they're doing, and educate that it is not far-fetched. This is something that is easily achievable. You just need to research, you just need to call on someone, you just need to ask for help. There are many strategies online. I just type in how to teach boys, strategies that will help based on the subject, the content, and it is there that you can utilize. So that's the first thing. You have to be energized, and there must be movement for them to make the connection. The second part of it is that you must utilize spatial visual tools. Boys, as I said, they are concrete. While for the females, you can describe and they can get the picture, they can see and understand. The boys will not be able to make that level of reasoning because they are concrete, they are logical. They need to see what is it that you are doing, right? So it's also a part of their neurological activity. This is what excites the brain and pumps it and pushes the brain to help them to make the connection. So you want to ensure that this is going on. This is when you have the neurological activities going on, when you take the pictures, the graphs, the actual objects, the replicas, when you take it and you show them, it excites the brain, and it also improves on their literacy. Here is a very important thing, educators, that you must get. Boys do their best work when teachers establish authentic, purpose, and meaningful real-life connections. And this was done by this is a research by Gurian in 2006, way back, but it is still applicable today, and we still see it. There must be authentic, purpose, and meaningful real life connections. You have to establish that with the boys. So I say to educators, you cannot operate within a vacuum when you're teaching boys. They hear the slangs, they watch the TikTok videos, they listen to the YouTube channels, they listen to the music videos. There are so many things that they do that is for them, that is their experience. I'm not saying that you must do everything that they do and plug into everything, but this is what will work for you with them. When you are able to utilize the language within the context that they have, they will understand that this teacher knows very well my context, knows the connections, knows what I'm going through, and is able to relate. And you'll realize that they'll gravitate towards you in a positive way, and you have to keep that momentum going. I remember when I was teaching, and there was this young man in the class who, say he doesn't use smartphone and all the works. And you know what they say when they don't use smartphone is bangers, the little simple phones that they use. And I used the term to him. I said, "Oh, you're a choppy line." And he was frightened. He said, "Miss, you know what I mean?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And this is when I dived into his experience, into that connection, and I made that connection with him, and I was able to steer him away from that understanding that is the way out. And I started to relate to him the importance of education. Sometimes when I'm walking by, when I'm supervising, or when I'm walking by the boys and I hear them talking, say, "Yo, G, sister, this not look good. It's supposed to be in class, supposed to be doing the work." I like them and look at me like, "Miss, you know them words?" And I say, "Of course, Jenna, I know them words there." So you're making, and I realize that when I do that, the boys, they realize that, okay, Miss understand my context, I can relate to Miss. So sometimes I just go and sit with them and I just talk about life generally with them, and I use their terms while I'm talking with them, and I, you know, I get into it and they understand that I understand their context. But that doesn't take away from them respecting me. So in another form, when I stand to speak to them, they very well understand the level that I'm coming at them. But there are moments when I have to let down and I have to speak with them. So educators, you need to build that sort of relationship into your lesson. Have the teacher moments. When you hear them say some things, don't let it just fly by. Stop and share with them and show them and help them to understand. When I hear boys calling each other dog, I say, then your dog will never know, say, where your 4 foot there? You know, you're relating to them, and then you are able to know to make the connection. So that in itself is something that we really need to work on in the classroom, establishing authentic, purposeful, and meaningful real life connections with our boys. The next one is that single gender groupings for projects can be beneficial. Girls tend to verbalize during problem solving via cooperation and interactive learning. Boys are single task driven neurologically and enjoy a gentle banter that may include a camaraderie of, aggressive male bonding and so on. So sometimes it is not always good to have boys and girls in a group. Try to have all boys in one group and all girls in one group, and you see the emotions and the excitement and everything that is coming out in the activity that you're doing. And as it rightly says, the research is saying to us that nothing is wrong if they have a little banter. Nothing is wrong if they start to quarrel with each other about a point or a topic or something that they want to express themselves. As the manager in the classroom, you don't allow it to go overboard where it becomes aggressive and it becomes like a war or a fight that is going on, but help them to foster healthy relationships. All right. The next one is to allow boys to choose topics in reading that appeals to them. Educators, for those especially who teaches literacy skills or reading or enrichment or so on, give them the opportunity to choose the materials that they want to read, because they are not naturally inclined to wanting to read. And so if you don't force it on them to get them to from an early age to read, when they get to like grade 7, 8, 9, the interest is not there. So you have to just allow them to choose, and then you are able to relate it to what is it that they are doing. Ensure the presence of positive male role models who emphasize the importance of education. Male teachers in our classroom, it is time to step up. It is time to step up, because you know what is happening? At home, all they see, mommy, auntie, grandma, cousin, auntie, sister. These are the females are the ones constantly correcting them. So it gets to a point where they tune out all females. But when there's a male figure that they can relate to, it makes a difference. So I'm just calling on our male teachers in the classroom. Please be a role model for the boys. Relate to them. Establish authentic relationships with these students. Healthy relationships that they can sit and talk to you about issues. That you can sit and relate to them. That you can correct. Let them look on you as a positive influence. So this tight pants business, yeah? And this now home here business by male teachers, and this just don't care attitude. You pass a group of boys doing something bad, and as a male teacher you don't stop to correct the boys. That's not looking good. They need the father figures, because majority of the homes from which they come from, there is no father. So they need that relationship at school. So principals, male vice principals, male teachers, please be a role model to our boys. Foster that relationship. And at this point, I'm calling on schools to implement, if you have not yet done so, the gender devotion. Have it as a consistent thing, a consistent part of the timetable. So it's not a if or a but if they're going to be going to gender devotion. Yes, there'll be time when you may have to divert and you may have to do something else, but it should be consistent that you have gender devotion so the male teachers can relate to the young men. You can call in males to talk to them, to share with them, so they have that going. Last but not least, as educators, we have to find a way to get our parents involved in what the students do at school. If it is homework, if there's something to be done at school, you want to get them involved and encourage them to assist them, because one of the greatest things for them is to be able to know that mommy and daddy cares, that somebody in the family cares about them and is helping them when they get home with their assignments, with their projects. You need to be there for them. So educators, I trust that this video, though it is just a tip of the iceberg, that I would have touched on some salient points. What is the difference between boys and girls, and what are the strategies, what are the techniques, what are the different ways we can address this difference, the differences that exist in the classroom as we teach our students. I want to wish for you a great week, a productive week, and remember, educators, take good care of yourself. Don't ever forget that. Next week, we'll see you again once more when we look at topics that as educators you have given to us. I want for you, though, before you go, to just like this video, to share it, to subscribe to the channel. You can share it with other educators, you can share it with parents, you can share it with even students, so they're able to understand and they can make suggestions to their teachers as to how to deal with them. Thank you so much for listening in. I am Karla Boswell-Lewis, Director for Strategic Educational Consultancy Services, where my only mission is to empower you educators. Walk good.